So, finally, we have some interesting news regarding JK Dobbins, and it is equally exciting for the Chargers and JK Dobbins. You know, he is still a free agent, and it is pretty shocking. But now, after the draft, it is getting clear that he might return to the Chargers. At least the Chargers' latest move suggests this. So, let's break it down. What's up, Chargers fans? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Chargers. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This channel is all about breaking down everything you need to know about the Bolts. The 2025 free agent market hasn't been kind to running backs, and JK Dobbins is living proof of that. Once seen as a potential difference maker and a name that could attract decent interest on the open market, the former Chargers back has found himself stuck in limbo, and he's not alone. It's become a recurring theme in today's NFL. Teams devaluing the running back position as a whole. Add in a strong incoming draft class this year, and the supply-demand curve tilted sharply out of favor for veterans trying to cash in. Just look at Najee Harris. He was projected by some to clear $10 million a year on the open market, yet he settled for a one-year deal worth $5.25 million guaranteed, with some incentives dangling to get him to $9 million, all from the Chargers no less. And while Harris got a landing spot, Dobbins is still waiting. His market has been quiet. Eerily quiet for weeks. The concerns around his injury history haven't helped, but there was still a point this offseason where league insiders expected more interest than what's actually materialized. That silence has led the Chargers to make a rare procedural move. They placed an unrestricted free agent tender on Dobbins, a seldom used tactic that signals a change in how they're approaching his situation. So, what does this actually mean? If Dobbins ends up signing with another team before training camp, the Chargers now have the right to count him in their compensatory pick formula. That's a strategic play, especially since, as it stands, Los Angeles isn't projected to receive any compensatory picks in 2026. This tender could secure them at least one compensatory free agent, CFA credit if he departs. But there's a catch. If Dobbins doesn't find a deal before camp, the Chargers retain exclusive negotiating rights. It's a hedge, a way to preserve optionality without having to commit to a full contract just yet. In essence, the Chargers bought themselves some leverage in a market that hasn't been generous to the player or the position. Now, the Chargers played an interesting move. Either they will get the commentary pick or they will sign back Dobbins. The Chargers looked like they shut the door on a Keenan Allen reunion when they drafted DeAndre Lambert-Smith in the 5th round. That was the instant reaction, and fair at the time. But now that things have settled, a reunion still makes a lot of sense. Lambert-Smith brings speed, sure, but he's not a polished route runner, not a proven chain mover. He's not Allen. And with this receiver room still thin on experience, the idea of bringing back a player who already has chemistry with Herbert and knows the offense isn't far-fetched. It actually feels smart. In fact, one could make the case that an Allen reunion is the one obvious move the Chargers will make after the 2025 NFL Draft. Now, the question is why a Keenan Allen signing is still crystal clear for the Chargers. At first glance, it may not look like there's room for Keenan Allen in this wide receiver room, not with DeAndre Lambert-Smith and Tre Harris now in the mix. But once you actually break down the roles each receiver is expected to play, there's still a clear lane for Allen to get real snaps. Right now, the Chargers' depth chart looks like this. X receiver, Tre Harris, Mike Williams. Z receiver, Quentin Johnston. Slot, McConkey, Derius Davis, DeAndre Lambert-Smith. The X spot is the classic boundary role. Big body, vertical threat, contested catches. That's where Harris and Williams slot in. It's not necessarily about being your best overall receiver anymore. In today's NFL, it's about body type and skill set at that position. That's why two guys known for winning jump balls are both penciled in at X. But that doesn't crowd out a technician like Allen. It opens the door for him to step in and bring a level of precision, consistency, and trust that none of these younger players have shown yet. The Z receiver is more flexible than the X, less tied to one spot, more motion, more movement. It's your secondary outside guy, and right now, Quentin Johnston is the only real option the Chargers have there. Then there's the slot. That's where McConkey has already carved out his home. Quick off the line, sharp routes, reliable underneath. Derius Davis is backing him up, and DeAndre Lambert-Smith, despite the speed, is already buried as the third option inside. That's part of why the pick raised eyebrows to begin with. So when you actually lay it out, the room isn't as crowded as it seemed. And a veteran like Keenan Allen, who can play both the slot and Z in a pinch, still fits. The Chargers can't afford to force DeAndre Lambert-Smith into a Z receiver role just because there's a need on paper. That's not his game. and it set him up to struggle. And while Quentin Johnston was a first-round pick, Chargers fans know all too well why he can't be the go-to answer at Z either. Not yet. That's where Keenan Allen makes perfect sense. Even though he's at his best in the slot, he actually played more snaps outside than inside last season in Chicago. He can still win as a route runner, still be that steady, reliable weapon, especially with defenses focused on everything else around him. Would that leave the Chargers with 7 receivers? Sure, but that's not unprecedented. They did the same thing on last year's initial 53. If Brendan Rice doesn't make the team, the math works, and so does the fit.